Why does city government always seem to be a mess? I'm sure you could give me a list of 100 things off the top of your head. Could this be the problem? Once you're elected, you're always looking for your next job. Councilwoman Janice Hahn, sworn in on July 1st, is getting ready for her run for lieutenant governor. Jan Perry says she'll run for mayor in 2013. If City Controller Wendy Gruhl runs for mayor, Councilman Dennis Zine will run for city controller. The issue is term limits. The minute you're elected, the clock is ticking and you're worrying about what's next. No wonder nothing seems to get done. Charlotte, is it time to revisit the issue of term limits?
Absolutely. The only time I definitely support term limits. The only time I wouldn't is if we had clean money elections, publicly financed like they have in Arizona, or if we had a Plato's Republic where we had philosopher kings. But beyond that, I think we should definitely have term limits. I like the idea of personal term limits where you can't be in politics for more than a decade. And when a politician gets out of their office and runs for another office, another problem is that you have to have a midterm election. So the taxpayer has to pay millions of dollars to have another election when they shouldn't have to have that election. But I'm also disappointed in the voters because they keep putting the same people in office. And an example is the recent CD2 election where we had lots of activists running for that particular office, and yet the people that were voted into the finals were two carpetbaggers who had deep pockets and union support. So I think it's a problem. You know, the politicians are entrenched. They have to do favors for the unions. We just have a system that isn't working, and we should definitely revisit it.
What do you think, Deb?
Absolutely. Charlotte, I second your motion by 1,000%. The system needs to be more than revisited. And you say a decade in office, I wouldn't give it more than 4 years. Even if the president of the United States gets 4 years in office, why is it that local politicians get more? I think it's a travesty because most of the time they're hanging around for a paycheck, which means they're not necessarily beholden to the public that they are meant to serve.
Debra,
after a while, it's a way of retiring.
Debra, let me jump in. Let me ask you a question, though. Here's the problem. You run for city council. Your term limit is up. You run for city controller. Your term limit is up. You try to become attorney general. I mean, the problem is it's the same people just circling around. Why wouldn't it be better to have one person in there for as long as they can keep getting elected? At the very least, you have some experience.
Yes, to a certain extent. But that experience tends to wear out when they're not really serving the public. Now, how many times have we gone into particular places where somebody has been working there for so long that they are less beholden to the public and more beholden to holding on to that check for their retirement, for their boat, for their 401k, for their vacation plans, and we've seen it happen over and over again. The travesty is not politics, it's human greed and fear of letting go.
All right, we've reached our term limit on this. We go to our final topic. Sarah Palin ended her term as governor of Alaska, wrote a book, now is a TV commentator. She majored in broadcast journalism in college as a former sportscaster. Now she's with Fox News. Palin made her debut with Bill O'Reilly.
I'm so appreciative of the opportunity to get to work with you and the other team members here at Fox News to provide the fair and the balanced reporting and analysis that voters in this country deserve.
Palin signed a multi-year deal with Fox. How long do you think she'll last? According to betting site PattyPowder.com, at least half the people are betting she won't last a year. Debra, if you were betting, will she last and will she do a good job?
Yes, she will last, and yes, she will do a good job because if most people who watch Fox or are familiar with Fox or even have the rumors of what Fox is, it's Rupert Murdoch, is very right-wing, so she's going to get a lot of support. And right now, with Obama's support kind of slipping, with popularity polls going down, I think, the Republicans have one way to join and boost. But as far as I'm concerned, she's a Monday night quarterback or a Friday afternoon quarterback or a Saturday afternoon quarterback, which means she's going to run it for all it's worth. But in the biased end, she will be so biased and to the right that it's going to be difficult for her to be open-minded enough to even seek re-election or seek election.
All right, Charlotte, what do you think?
I actually totally agree. And I think I don't think she has a chance of becoming president, but I do think she'll do very well as a commentator. She's a pretty girl. She's fun to watch. But I think that, in this betting, they were also betting on which group she's going to offend the most. And they didn't mention the animal rights activists and the environmentalists. And that's the number one group because we are already offended. I know Debra's also an animal rights person like I am. And
yes,
in the last election, I was actually a huge John McCain supporter for many years, worked on his 2000 campaign until he selected Sarah Palin. And you may remember the guys in West Hollywood who put up that effigy of Sarah Palin on Halloween as a decoration situation, and they got all that bad press. Well, I went over to their house and I knocked on their door after they had just taken it down, and I said, "Can I borrow your effigy?" And they said yes. And I brought it to my house and I hung it up on the rafters. And I blew up a big picture of Sarah Palin next to bloody dead animals that she had just killed. And I put up big words that said, "Which is more offensive, Palin's butchered corpses or a plastic doll attached to the roof?" And the media came over and I got across my political message. And so I absolutely detest her. I don't ever want to see her in politics because politics is where the power is. But as a commentator, I think she'll do very well. And I think it's fine because I believe in free speech.
Okay. Well, certainly you exhibited free speech there, Charlotte. Ladies, thanks a lot. We'll talk to you again next week.
Absolutely, Fred.
Okay. Do you realize in the digital age, it's not enough to come out of your hole?
If you're so smart, prove it. Contact NBC Filter on Twitter or Facebook, or send an email to thefilter@nbcuni.com. We care what you think, but if we don't like it, we'll filter you.